Is Saquon Barkley really going to sit out games this year for the New York Football Giants? We're going to unpack that as we have some quotes coming out from Barkley. We're going to dissect on today's show. But if you do not want Saquon Barkley to sit out games, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon right now. Alrighty, let's get into it. How much money did Saquon Barkley turn down to not accept a long-term contract extension? We're going to break it down. You're watching New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. We're going to break down some quotes Barkley had on the Money Matters podcast. Really good sit-down interview Barkley had a couple of days ago. You can go check that out. And we have some quotes from that. So we'll talk about what Saquon was talking about when it came to the contract situation. But how exactly and how close were the Giants and Barkley to getting a deal done? Well, Ryan Dunleavy of the New York Post is saying that the Giants and Barkley could not bridge a gap of less than $2 million in both average annual salary and guarantees over the first 2 years. So the Giants, they were right there. Barkley was right there. But I feel like, and as we've heard and it's been reported, both sides already thought that they had budged enough in these negotiations. The Giants weren't willing to go any higher on their offer, and Saquon wasn't willing to go any lower on his asking price. We do have the reported offers that Joe Schoen and the Giants offered to Barkley on Monday prior to the deadline. They started the day with an offer that would have paid him $13 million per year on average annual value with $19.5 million guaranteed. Barkley rejected that offer. Then the final offer from Joe Schoen, he went down on the average annual value from $13 million to $11 million, so dropped $2 million in the average annual salary. And then he also went up in guarantees. He went from $19.5 to $22.5. So the final deal was $11 million per year annually with $22.5 or roughly $22.5, $23 million guaranteed, which is just about the same amount of money that Barkley would have gotten if he is franchise tagged this year and franchise tagged next year. So I understand why Barkley turned down those deals, but I think it's fair to say that both of those deals are fair for Saquon Barkley. That would have put him inside the top 5 of the highest paid backs in average annual value. It also would have put him in the top 5 of guaranteed dollars. Saquon said that he is the best back in the NFL, and he's not asking to be paid like the best back in the NFL, so he already feels like he is giving the Giants a hometown discount. So I understand where he is coming from. He made a whole lot of money in his rookie contract, about $38 million after being the second overall pick out of Penn State. But he wants more money because he knows that this is the last big contract that he is going to get at the running back position. Running backs, they really only get to hit free agency one time where they are going to be a wanted commodity across the National Football League. So now that there is no deal done and Barkley is going to sit out training camp, we don't know if he's going to sign the franchise tender. What is next? Will Barkley actually sit out games for the New York Giants this year? What are the repercussions of Barkley sitting out games? He gets fined about $600,000 per game that he sits out if he does sign the franchise tag. If he doesn't sign the franchise tag, he can sit out games and there would be no monetary value that could be subtracted from his paycheck. So a couple of decisions that Barkley's going to have, and he talked about the decision he has to make. We'll get to those quotes just around the corner. But first, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, because if we get any more news, update, or information about Barkley or the New York Giants, we're going to make a video because that's what we do. Giants videos every single day on the latest news and rumors. So go down right now, join the channel, and become a real one. All right, coming up in just a second, we're going to break down what he said about sitting out games. Do I believe he's going to sit out games? What's going to happen if he sits out games? Can the Giants survive? Can they make the playoffs if Barkley sits out games? We're going to break that down. But first, I got to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, Z-Biotics. And I got to be honest with you guys. After y'all hit me with a bunch of super chats and the live shows go crazy, I don't always bounce back well the next day. And that is until I found Z-Biotics. Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down, and it's designed to work like your liver, but in your gut where you need it most. Drink Z-Biotics before drinking alcohol, drink responsibly, and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. Shout out to Z-Biotics for sponsoring today's show. And I just love the packaging that it comes in. It comes with 6 individual bottles. The packaging is nice. It can easily fit in a bag if you're going on a plane, a carry-on, or a checked bag. Maybe you're going to a bachelor or bachelorette party. It's going to fit really good into your bag. Go to zbiotics.com/chatsports and use the code chatsports or scan the QR code on the screen right now to get 50% off your first order when you go to zbiotics.com/chatsports and use the code chatsports. You can also sign up for a subscription as well so you can stay prepared no matter the time or occasion. Z-Biotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. That's zbiotics.com/chatsports and use the code chatsports at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, Z-Biotics, for sponsoring today's video. So this is what Barkley had to say about the ongoing situation and the idea of him sitting out games. Quote, "My leverage is I could say F you to the Giants. I could say F you to my teammates and be like, you want me to show you my worth? You want me to show you how valuable I am to the team? I won't show up. I won't play it down." And that's a play I could use. And anybody who knows me knows that's not something I want to do. Is it something that's crossed my mind? I never thought I would ever do that. But now I'm at the point where I'm like, Jesus, I might have to take it to this level, and I'm prepared to take it to this level. I don't know. That's something I have to sit down and talk to my family, talk to my team, and strategize about this. I feel bad for Barkley in this situation because the running back situation in the National Football League right now is just not a pretty one whatsoever. Barkley's one of the top 20 best football players in the league, and he's not making that type of money, and that goes for a lot of different running backs. Josh Jacobs didn't get a deal done. Tony Pollard didn't get a deal done. Dalvin Cook got cut. Austin Eckler didn't get the type of raise that he thought he could. It goes throughout the National Football League, and I know this for a fact, that Saquon Barkley cares about what people think about him. Saquon Barkley is all about legacy. He already missed an entire season due to an ACL tear. If he has to sit out another year, is he really going to be able to be considered one of the best running backs of all time, which he cares about, and he wants to be a guy that's going to Canton, Ohio, and being a member of the Hall of Fame? You missed 2 seasons in your prime, that's most likely not going to happen. On the flip side, if he were to sit out games, that's going to be a problem for the New York Giants. There's no doubt about it. Barkley is the most important player on this team outside of Andrew Thomas, in my opinion. We saw what Barkley was able to do and how successful he was able to be last season, which also made the New York Giants a successful team. Made the playoffs for the first time since, 2016. Won their first playoff game since 2012. The question is, though, can Barkley afford to sit out a year, miss out on $10.1 million, think he's going to be making more money when he comes back from that holdout, and is he going to be that same player? We've really only seen one running back sit out an entire year in the past couple of years, and that is Le'Veon Bell. He was franchise tagged in 2017, and he played on that franchise tag, and he was really freaking good on the tag. He had 321 carries, 1,200, almost 1,300 yards, and he had another 655 through the air. So the guy had 1,900 yards in that year. He was franchise tagged, 11 total touchdowns, and then the Steelers franchise tagged him again. Then he sat out a season, and then he signed that monster deal for the Jets. But I want you to look at this graphic on screen. In 15 games in 2017, Le'Veon Bell was the best back in the National Football League. He sat out and then played 34 games for the New York Jets, and he didn't even surpass the totals in the stats that he put up in the 2017 season. He was never that same running back again. As if you're a running back, I really don't think you can afford, money-wise as well as talent-wise, to sit out an entire season. I thought this quote from Saquon was interesting. He said, "I can try to get as much money as I can, but what really matters is winning. I know if I'm able to help bring a championship to New York, that's going to go miles more ahead than this contract." Is winning all that really matters, Saquon Barkley, that's one of my pet peeves with athletes. Winning is not all that matters, and winning is not all that should matter. What probably should matter the most is how much money you can make and how you can set up your family, your family's family, and your family's family's family down the line and be secure when it comes to money. So no, Saquon, you don't have to lie to us. You don't have to say winning is all that matters, because if it was, you'd sign for the veteran minimum and you'd play for the Giants so they could spend money elsewhere. I do not like when people say that, but I did like how Saquon said bringing a Super Bowl to New York would do more for him and his future than whatever this contract could pay him could do. He also said, I wouldn't say I'm not happy. Where I'm thrown off is, or it doesn't sit right with me is, I came out publicly and said that I want to be a Giant for life. I didn't want to hit the free agency market. I feel like we could have got the job done. Of course you could have got the job done, Saquon. They offered you contract after contract after contract after contract, and you saw players in free agency, not at the running back position, that didn't get the contracts that they were worth. The running back market is at an all-time low. So Saquon, why didn't you accept the deal at the NFL bye week for the New York Giants? They offered him a deal at the bye week right before the trade deadline. Why didn't you accept that deal? This is what he had to say about it. The number they offered, they thought I might jump at that because of my injury history. But I was like, I'd rather bet on myself. And everybody I've talked to, everything I've read was that offer that Joe Schoen offered to Saquon Barkley at the NFL bye week for the Giants was the best offer that he offered to him this entire negotiating process. And I believe that Saquon Barkley and his agents know they messed this up. That was the offer to take. And if you listen to Saquon in that interview, if you just listen to any of the sound bites and quotes he's had, it sounds like he regrets turning it down. And at the end of the day, I feel bad for Barkley. He's a great player. He's a face of this organization. I'm a fan of him as a player and a person. I think he's a great leader. I think he's great in the locker room. I think he's great in the community, does a whole bunch of charitable stuff. A great person for young kids to look up to. And he's not really being paid for it in the NFL right now. He also said this: you have to take a more mature route. You can't just be like, F that. I want something fair. What are we talking about? $10 million is a lot of money, especially when you look at the economics of our country and where the poverty rate is. And I'm a person that comes from that. You have fans who say, quote, how much do you want? We just want you to be here. That's when it gets upsetting to me. I don't want to come off like I'm greedy, like I'm arrogant. At the end of the day, you still have to do what's right for you. I don't think it's fair at all, and I won't do it. I cannot do it. I'm not going to call Saquon Barkley selfish. I don't think it's fair for anybody to say that. I honestly think it's quite a joke at this point if you're calling Barkley selfish for doing what he thinks is best for himself. Because I know if you were watching this video right now, if you felt like your employer was not paying you what your worth was, you wouldn't be happy about it either. So I don't think it's fair to say that Barkley is selfish. I do fear, though, that this could be his last year wearing the blue helmet with the red stripe with the white NY on the side of it. It just feels like it may have went too far. I know in negotiations, you always say it's business is business. It's strictly financial. It's business. It's not personal. But when you have someone telling you, you're not worth this, I don't think you're this good, we don't value you at this price, that may push people the wrong way. And I don't know if this relationship between Saquon Barkley and Joe Schoen can ever be repaired. And I don't think they want to sit at the negotiating table anytime soon. So I'll ask you this question. Will this be Barkley's last season with the Giants? What do you think? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I would almost guarantee that Barkley is going to get franchise tagged once again next season if he has a good season and doesn't get injured. So we could be doing all of this again in as little as 7 months. Type Y for yes, type N for no. I just wanted to close today's show with this little graphic right here. So this picture has been floating across Twitter since Saquon Barkley and Joe Schoen were unable to come to a long-term deal. And it's the last couple of Super Bowl winners. It's actually since 2009. It's all of the Super Bowl winning teams since 2009. And it shows their leading rusher in the Super Bowl. And it shows you how much those guys are being paid for their base salary. As you can see, none of these guys made more than $2.5 million. And while I agree, I don't know if the best way to go about building a team is by paying a lot of money to a running back, but I need to poke a hole through this argument because you see in 2013, the Seattle Seahawks, their leading rusher in that game was Percy Harvin. Well, Percy Harvin was a receiver. So there's an outlier number one. Outlier number two, the running back for the Seattle Seahawks that year was Marshawn Lynch. And I'll tell you this much. Marshawn Lynch made a lot of freaking money in his NFL career, and he especially did it in 2013. Marshawn Lynch's cap number in 2013 was $8.5 million. Think about it like this. $8.5 million. Saquon Barkley is being paid $10.1 million. His base salary, $7 million. Guaranteed salary, $7 million. His percentage, his salary cap hit was only 6.2% of the cap when the cap was at $123 million. So how does those numbers relate to the numbers in 2023? Well, Barkley is getting paid $10.01 million this year on the franchise tag, which is 4.4% of the salary cap. So 2% less than the cap that Marshawn Lynch's contract took up. So I went into my duffel bag a little bit right here, brought out the TI-84 calculator, started doing some long division and cross multiplication and division. So my numbers may be a little bit wrong. But if you look at what Marshawn Lynch's contract in 2023 would be, if you use the same cap percentage of 6.2, his cap number would be 15.5, the second highest paid running back in the National Football League. His base salary would be 12.7, top 5 highest paid back in the National Football League. Guaranteed salary 12.7, same cap percentage of 6.2, but the salary cap is $224 million. So how can the Seattle Seahawks win a Super Bowl when they're paying a running back 6.2% of the cap, but no other team should ever build their team in that fashion? That's a little bit weird, in my opinion. Also, the 49ers, the team that was in the NFC Championship last year, their season was spiraling out of control before they made a trade for Christian McCaffrey. Following that trade, the 49ers won 12 games in a row. So I say all that to say, anyone that thinks that you can't build a winning and competitive and championship contending roster while paying a running back a lot of money is just studying the analytics too much, and you're just doing too much. Because I just showed you that in 2013, the Seattle Seahawks were paying their running back 6.2% of the cap, which is 2% more than the franchise tag. If it makes sense, it makes sense to you. If not, you continue to just push that agenda that you can't win with a running back. I'll ask you, though, can you win a Super Bowl with a high-paid running back? We'll close the show with this question right here. Type 1 for yes, type 2 for no. Can you do it? Can you pay a running back a lot of cheddar and hoist the Lombardi Trophy? Let me know what you think. As always, I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate you guys for rocking out with us here on Giants Now by Chat Sports. If you want to talk more about Saquon Barkley, I'm down. Just send me a DM on Twitter at @MarshallGreen_.